Hey there, hey, this is Michelle with Brilliant Quest, and today I want to talk to you about how to stop failing. Now, let me preface this. It's a 5-step process, and I'm going to take you through, and it's going to take some work. This is not where you're just going to sit here and listen and be like, that's nice. No, it's got actual steps that I want you to go through. All right, so let's get on and get started. All right, so the way you're going to stop failing is you're going to start learning the skill of reframing a situation. You're going to start actively and consciously building your routines. You're going to create some rituals in your life. Oh, yes, you are. You're going to then develop rules, and then you're going to establish rewards. Okay, so I'm going to go through all of those. And what I want you to do is I want you to first and foremost recognize that failure is a necessary part of life. But failure of doing the same thing and not learning is not failure. That's losing in the bad way. So what I want you to do is I want you to fail forward, meaning that you don't keep making the same mistakes. You don't keep falling for the same tricks over and over. All right. So let's talk about reframing. So reframing is what you think. It's finding a different way to look at something. It's positioning. It is perspective. It is a different angle. And it is something that you get better with time. So first and foremost, I want you to give yourself grace when you're learning to reframe a situation. And one of the areas that I will tell you to start working on reframing is, you would think I would say, oh, reframe your thoughts. No, start with your talk. Because once you can become aware of when you're getting into negative self-talk, it's going to help you to reframe your thoughts. So we're going to start with the easy and then move up. So you can hear what you're saying, right? You can hear yourself. And if and when someone corrects you or says, hey, don't say that. Don't take offense. Don't say, oh, I'm sorry, and just leave it. No, make a note of it, or even pause to make a note of it, because those are going to be opportunities for you to reframe what you have said. Because out of the mouth, the abundance of the soul flows, and the mouth is the gate. Okay, so being able to make sure that you don't let craziness prevail means that you're going to be able to catch yourself from setting yourself up for failure. Because on the backside of reframing how you speak about yourself, things, situations, and how it relates to failure, is sometimes people don't realize how much there is power in the tongue. And you might be unawares self-prophesying or setting things into motion of what you do. And how does that happen? It happens when your words go unchecked and they have some emotion to them. You see, emotion is a fuel for things. That's why people can declare something with power and force, and it has a higher probability of happening instead of if they were to ask something. You know, it's an amazing thing. The emotions, the tone, the word choice, all of those things matter. And like I said, they're one of the easier things to work with when you are determined to stop failing. Because if you can reframe, pick better words, use the proper emotion and tone, oh my gosh, out of your mouth, you will have all of this manifesting wonderfulness coming out. And the good thing about reframing, you know you're reframing right, because especially when you start talking about your words are win-wins for everyone. They stop being individualized and exclusionary to where they are win-wins for all. They tend to help more people. You'll find that when you start reframing what comes out of your mouth, you'll have people say, oh, I like that. I'm gonna use that one. That's a good indicator that you are winning this game of not failing. Okay, so the next one is you want to develop routines. Now, routines sound boring, and they might be because they are habits. But when you go about consciously developing a new routine, it benefits from the newness of the push to create it. And so don't sleep on routines. If there are certain things that you keep failing at, a routine will help you. Now, I'm going to tell one of mine, and I'm just going to say I am still working on it. Still working on it. All right. And that is when I trade. Stock or Forex. I have gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, there are just times when I get scared and, the stomach starts going and all that kind of stuff, especially when things are moving or when I'm in a drawdown and I'm like, oh, Lord, this is hard. But what I have noticed is once you start learning, how to do something, that's not where you really need to focus. You need to focus on where you can make things just habitual, where you take the thought out of them and you do it. And you do it where you know it has a more probability of being right than wrong. And if it goes wrong, don't change. You see, I've gotten a good routine on how I approach my trades and all those types of things. It's me developing the routine around it to not change when the fear of, oh, I'm going to draw down or it's going against me, or, those kinds of things. Work the routine that is good business practice or good trading practice, and I can say a lot about trading. I might, in the time to come here, if you guys are interested in it, but I will say that being able to mitigate loss and failure, you will be amazed at how much it is determined by your ability to have a good routine and stick with it. So if there's something that you have a great fear of failure, or you've been taking a lot of failure on, start working on a routine of the best practices that will give you a higher probability to not fail. I hope this is making sense for y'all. Come on, write in the comments and let me know, because like I said, Big Sis Michelle is giving you stuff, not this pie in the sky. Oh, this should work. No, I'm telling you stuff that I have to put into practice. Other people have to put into practice. And I'm just trying to help you to have a brilliant quest that you don't have, you learn from experience, but it don't have to be all your experience. Okay. So I'm helping you shortcut this. All right. So we have learned that we need to reframe. One of the ways to start reframing, because reframing can be difficult, start with the words coming out your mouth, then work on reframing your thoughts. The next one is get those routines in place, because when you have a good routine and you take out that, the nervousness or whatever it might be, the mental chatter that might cause you to fail, and you work your routine, you increase your probability of decreasing failure. Those failures that you just keep making, right? What they call them, unforced errors, I think is what they call them in sports. All right. So then this one is one that's near and dear to me, and it's ritual. And the way I look at ritual in this situation is it's going to be routine that has a specific meaning. And for mitigating or lessening failure, have a routine that helps to imbue you with self-confidence, self-worth, things that help to position you in a place of power instead of just a place of hope or hopelessness. And so a ritual, a lot of people don't realize that they see them all the time. Think about the person who, I'm not even that big of a baseball person, but what happens when the pitcher goes up on the mound and he does his little whatevers, whatever it is that he does, his routine. But then 9 times out of 10, those pitchers will stop and they'll have a moment, whether it's a saying, a prayer, or a look for somebody in the audience, a family member. It is part of the routine that has great meaning to it. And that's the ritual. And when you have that, it's putting skin in the game for you to know that it's going to be okay. In my motivation series, I talked about the psychologist Adler. And Adlerian psychology is known as individual psychology. And this individual psychology helps people to become better people in the now based on who they are as an individual. But another thing about it, it says that you're only as good as yourself individually as you are with your society, your community, relatives, friends, and family. And I have found that when I'm trying to mitigate or lessen the failures that I kept making, when I worked on myself was fine. But what put me over the top was when I became accountable to, or when I revealed to family and friends what I was doing and how I was trying to overcome it. That's when I saw a lot of movement in the direction I wanted. And I was able to incorporate ritual. Like whenever I write a novel, I have one friend who there's a ritual that I do when I send her the novel and all of the different things. And it is powerful. It is powerful because, yeah, it's actually part of my checkoff list before I release a book into the wild. But this ritual helps me so much. And she's so gracious over the many years of doing this with me. So thank you, Cindy. But anyway, rituals. So the next one, here's the next one. And this next one is one that is, I'm going to be honest, it can be hard. It can be hard because this one is where you take declarations and now you put some more power on them and you turn them into rules, but then you don't break the rule. So here's one. You say, oh, I'm going to exercise every day, Monday through Friday. And then you say, okay, you get to exercising and you might do it even for the first month, but in the 6th month, you're like, exercising, I haven't done that in a month. It just gets crazy. But instead, turn it into a rule. And one of the things about rules will quickly help you to be realistic about what you can do, because rules they're not supposed to be broken. Sometimes they can be broken, but they're not supposed to be broken. And instead of saying, I'm going to exercise every day, Monday through Friday, as a declarative, I'm going to do this, you can make a rule. And the rule can be, in a given month, I exercise a minimum of 5 times. And don't break the rule. When you do that, you develop consistency. You can develop honor and power in your word, and you get yourself to a point where you stop taking more failure. When you set yourself up to fail with these unrealistic, unsustainable declarations of what you're going to do, you are conditioning your subconscious to manufacture ways for you to fail. So instead of making these pie in the sky declarations, resolutions, whatever you want to call them, turn them into rules, and then make the rule approachable, obtainable, quantifiable, if you will, and then don't break that rule. And by having that rule, I mean, heck, if it's exercise, and your first rule is, I exercise at least once within the first 15 days of the month. Don't break that rule. And then therefore you start winning. You start winning with each one. And I talked in, I keep going back to my motivation series because it's a powerful series where I'm giving you stuff that I've used and I know works for me and others. And in there, I talk about, if you're like feeling like you're unmotivated and just can't seem to get yourself motivated, I talk about publishing your accomplishments. There is something about when you develop a routine, a habit of publishing, what did I get done today? It's something about you, your higher self, the universe, all of these things that helps you to find ways to continue to do more. And when you do more, you get motivated. And when you're motivated, you don't tend to take on and do the same feeling over and over. You start to get insights into it. And that brings me to the next thing. Have an anticipation about not failing. And when you do that anticipation about not failing, have it where you instill rewards that you will give yourself for a successful accomplishment, a successful completion of something. If you predetermine a reward, whether you realize it or not, instinctively, you work to make better choices to have a higher potential of gaining that reward, which, you guessed it, in turn helps to mitigate the possibility of having a failure. So let's take an example. Let's say that your failure at love, that you've taken a lot of fails over the years when it comes to trying to date someone compatible. Let's just run through this list and see what it looks like. Okay. Now I'm doing this on the spot. So bear with me. All right. But we want to be practical. All right. So say, for instance, you want to be in a committed relationship, right? So what's the first thing? We want to reframe. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to reframe the words coming out of our mouth. Watch for words like always, never, those absolute words. Don't say things like I hesitate to even say it. I always find the loser, the dud, the whatever. Don't do that. And when you find yourself doing that, stop, flip it, and reverse it, like Missy Elliott says, and say, I am finding. Yeah, I'm really big on I am statements because they work. I am finding many. Not just one, I'm finding many, because you want choice, honey. You want choice. All right. So you're going to start reframing the words that come out of your mouth. And then, then after you really start getting good with that, reframe the thoughts as well. The next thing is you're going to start a routine. How do you start finding these people? So a good routine is not going to just be running and getting on, the apps. I do know that that's how a lot of people date right now, but do more things that give you a higher probability of finding good potential candidates to date, to mate. And that is, the old school way still helps. Volunteer at different places. Go and see and attend events. Network with friends. Let them know I am in the market. I'm looking. Don't try to matchmake me, but let me be aware of potentials. You want to broaden what you do and make it routine so that you can take away a lot of the failures or forced errors that can happen because you didn't have a routine or a plan. And if you can't think of it as a routine, think of it as a project, think of it as a plan, and then work the plan regularly. Okay. The next one is ritual. Now this ritual, I'm going to say, for this particular example that I'm doing, journal about it each night. And because you're going to be able to journal with feeling, write it out with your hand. That would be where you, out of the truth of who you are, you're putting it out there. And it's also helping you to start publishing your accomplishments. When you journal about it, what did you do today that helped you to be out there? I'm going to tell you guys, boy, being on social media where people can see you, whether you're like saying I'm available or not, there are people that will reach out to you. What do they call it? Yeah, I know, it's called sliding in your DMs. They'll be like, hey, lady, hey. I'm like, wait a minute, what? You know? So maybe, part of your ritual is you put out some value. Don't waste people's time, but maybe get on social media a little bit more and let people see what they're actually working with. Okay. All right. And then rules. Make a rule. I don't know how that will look for you, but it might be that I get on one dating app and I work through that app for 30 days before I move on to another one so I don't overextend myself. Or it can be anything, but it's a rule that's obtainable so you can get a win and it doesn't, overcommit you or overwhelm you to try to make it happen. And then don't break the rule. All right, then the next one is going to be reward. Yes, indeed. The reward. What does a successful completion of this look like? And the reward, don't make the reward the person. Don't make it the husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you're trying to look for. Don't make it that. Make the reward something that encourages you to do the best with what you have and who you are to make you better. So a reward off the top of my head with this particular scenario, the reward could possibly be where you say, okay, this month, these are the rules I made. This is the routine I set up. This is how I refrained my mind. And my reward is going to be that I take myself out for dinner and a movie to be a date for myself. When I successfully complete this. So, something like that. And so this is how it looks, living in the wild, if you will, of how to lessen the ability, not the ability, but lessen how many failures you take. Now, on this channel, we don't look at failures as bad. What we do say is the only bad failure is the last one when you stop, because that turns into defeat. And defeat is the final failure. So, yeah, I want you to make less failures, less forced errors, but don't give up if you do have a failure. Pick yourself back up and keep going. So guess what? Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me, for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And I want you to watch this next video where we're going to continue to go on in this brilliant quest. I see it for us. I see it for you. I see it for me. It's a wonderful thing. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. All right. So I'm going to talk to you sooner than later. Now go on and watch the next video. Talk to you later. Bye.